While traveling, it's usually best to pack light. When it comes to money, carrying some cash and having an alternative like Zelle is a great idea. Zelle's an easy way to send and receive money with people you trust. At any U.S. bank, it's already in thousands of different banking apps, and it's money straight into your bank account in minutes fast. Look for Zelle in your banking app today. Safe travels.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Put that long day behind you. Good times lie ahead. With company worth keeping, that'll bash a smile on your head. Come on in, the door's open. You'll find just the finest folks here. Pull up a chair, grab a drink, and lend our stories your ear. Cause we're the talk the tavern. Here you're always welcome. The talk the tavern. Promising beer and bedlam. The talk the tavern. Music, medicine, then some. The talk the tavern. The song's over. Here we come.
Welcome to the tavern. We'll get to the topic and discussion in just a moment. Just want to let everybody know this is an adult show with adult topics, adult humor, and in other words, we drink, we smoke, we swear, and we laugh at things we probably shouldn't, but we do it together. For those listening to the podcast, we record the podcast on our live stream at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk and have a live interactive chat audience. You might hear the sound of the bell, and that means I want to interrupt somebody to read a question or comment. For those on the live stream, we won't read off everything you put in chat, but we'll try to get to the most relevant or the most amusing, but hopefully some combination of the both. Now, while we introduce ourselves, go ahead and let us know what your vices are tonight. Welcome to the tavern. Tonight's topic is going to be staying motivated or stay motivated, great ways to stay motivated. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. First, I want to let everybody in our live stream chat know that we are recording a podcast right now, so we will read off your comments and reply to you, but it might not be everything. We will reply to the most witty and or relevant, but hopefully the combination of the two. For anybody who's catching this on podcast, if I left that musical intro in there, so sorry, giggle along with it. It's one of those days for the bandwidth that I'm working with. And also, you will hear us reading viewers' comments out loud. So that's part of the joy of showing up in the live tavern instead of catching it on podcast. Now, let me do the intro. I am Travis Sivart, author of incredible books like Silver and Smith and The Doppelganger's Gate that released on July 1st. Check that out. And there's other books to go with that. That is book 2 in the series. And my vices tonight. Take a breath. There we go. I am drinking Coke Zero Bacardi, and in this wonderful olive wood corncob shape, I guess, I have Cornell and Deal Dark Cherry Cavendish. Ed, why don't you jump in next and pass it around?
I'll jump in here, and I'll pass whatever I have around. I hope somebody will take it. IBC cream soda. That's what I'm drinking, and I'm chasing it with bourbon.
That's good.
And
sweet and
Andrea,
savory.
Take it away. Yeah.
Well, speaking of sweet, I got my sweet tea that I make, and Tic Tac. Fancy tonight.
Cheers.
How about you, Crystal?
Fuck yeah, Miss Lady. All right. I am smoking Camel Crushes today because I don't know why I want cancer, and I am drinking Bloom Gin, which is a jasmine and rose infused gin. As you can see, I'm already a few shots in, which rhymes. Way too much rhyming. I am the author of Hearts of the Fallen, and I'm also a YouTuber. You can catch me on Writer's Happy Hour, where I get authors drunk and ask them questions. And you can also find me at ravensmusepublishing.com, where I do all kinds of shit.
There we go. Good intro. Good intro. Covered all the goodies. Now, let's see what everybody put here if anybody in chat what their vices are tonight. Maybe they'll get to it in a moment.
Yes.
Sarah says Jolly Ranchers dissolved in vodka, but there's a question mark. So I don't know if Sarah's actually enjoying that tonight or just suggesting a horrible blend. And I've seen people do it, by the
Actually,
way.
that sounds delicious.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like vodka. That's why I say that. It's not the Jolly Ranchers. It's the vodka.
Did you have a bad vodka experience?
I've had quite a few. Thank you for asking. We can talk about that some other time. It starts in my early childhood and works its way forward. Marlene says, just some juice. Barely ever have alcohol, especially not during the week. And Sarah adds, I want Fred's fuck up. A shot of Chambord in cherry coke. That sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, the Jolly vodka will mess you up, and that's what I remember from it. It's with the extra sugar on top of the sugars in the vodka. Yeah, it's like hang up, especially a cheap vodka. And who puts Jolly Ranchers in good vodka? Somebody, but nobody I know.
There's good vodka.
Yeah, there actually is. Definitely makes a difference if you get a good vodka instead of the stuff you have to put in the freezer to do a shot of it without hurting yourself. And that relates.
Some Grey Goose nights that were fucking like memories made, life flashing before your eyes. It's going to show this night kind of nights on some Grey Goose. So it can happen on occasion.
Yeah, there's a reason I don't drink the vodkas very much. And also, all the flavored vodkas, they're all so sticky. Like, you're like, oh, I poured myself a shot. Oh, I'm sticking to everything.
That's what she said.
Anybody else have a flashlight flashback? Just checking. Moving on. Oh, John says, presently enjoying Purple Empress Gin and Raspberry Lemonade. John, is that mixed or is that separate?
Did you steal that from my podcast?
It's, okay. So tonight's topic was actually suggested by Crystal. So good ways to stay motivated. So let's pass this over to Crystal and let you tell us a little bit about why you thought of this topic, what it means to you. Get the ball rolling for us.
You know, when it comes to storytelling, which is pretty much the template on which I write my life, it's all about propelling the plot forward and staying motivated, figuring out what you can do each day to make you better tomorrow or advance you to the next level if you're a video game person. That is what continues making life interesting for me personally, and being able to keep yourself motivated and keep moving forward. That's a big fucking deal, and it enriches your life. And whatever you can do that gives you that get up and go, definitely share it with us, and we want to share it with each other.
I love
because
that.
we're not germaphobes here.
By the way, quick side tangent here. I saw a news article today. There are stores putting out those rubber wristbands, like I Love Jesus or Walk for Health or whatever. But these are red, yellow, and green, like a traffic light. And they're the levels of comfort with contact. Like green is, I'll give you a handshake. Yellow is elbows only. Red is, don't fucking touch me. And I'm like, can we keep these forever? To hell with COVID or anything else. Can we just keep these forever? Can I just put because if I know you, I'm all about the handshake. Let me walk up, personal interact. If I don't know you, if we're close enough to reach out and slap each other or gently stroke each other in any manner, you're a little too close. Take a step back. That's my personal space. If I could jizz and get it on your shoes, you shouldn't have been that close to me. Of course, if I can jizz and get it on your shoes, I probably want you closer, but whatever. So
not in the line at the grocery store, Travis.
Yeah, apparently not at work either. HR talked to me about that. So, I'm like, but I have the tablecloth. They can't tell. It's like 10 feet. What are you, 17, John? Oh my God.
I'm the only one who, when I was a teenager, it was like I didn't believe in herpes or germs or something. I just shared with everyone. Drink out of my cup, please. I will walk up and lick your eyeball just if I like you as a person. And now I'm just like, I love the 6-foot rule, man. Can we keep that even without the germs? Like,
Marlene's calling us back to the topic. Motivation, back to topic. Thank you, Marlene.
Okay.
You're going to be great for the show.
good job, Marlene.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Crystal, I love what you said there, because so many people don't look to make themselves a better them. They're okay with a static existence, but I think everybody who tries to... Marlene says, no worry. By now, we all got the herpes, so no worry. I did not know Marlene's been...
And 4 people, there's 4 of us here.
Yeah. I didn't know Marlene had been putting her lips on your cup, Crystal. How was that? We need to hear that story after the show, maybe.
It's all that eyeball licking.
Oh, I'll do that again.
So, yeah, it's... By the way, Andrea, at some point in time, I think we could bring in a topic, atomic habits, which Andrea and I both listened to. Oh, I see Crystal and Ed nodding. Okay. This is something we've read on audiobook. It's only like 5.5 hours long, not terribly long, but it's nice. Okay, Jewel, do your med pass. Have a good time, but not too good because it gets weird. And we'll catch you in a few minutes. But yeah, so Crystal, have you read that book too?
I have.
Ed, did you read it? Because I know I sent it.
I've gotten through part of it.
Okay.
I listened to it, actually.
Right.
Gotten through part of it, yeah.
Okay, so the concept, if anybody wants to know about self-motivation, and the beautiful thing about Atomic Habits, not that I'm pimping this guy's book, but it's worth pimping for everybody's own self-worth, is it's if you could improve 1% on one thing, and then if you have 10 things that goes into doing this thing, improving 1% on each of those things, you're now 10% improved. And yeah, and Marlene says motivation. Go ahead, Andrea.
I like it because it's so simple. I don't know about you guys, but with me, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and I have this long list, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I ain't doing any of that shit. This breaks it down, so it's like, I have an example. I'm learning bagpipes, and the person that I found that I'm learning some of this stuff from, he must have read Atomic Habits, because it's like, okay, it's really hard to stick with something all the time. It's like banging your head at the wall and trying to get a different result. So you pick a time. It's like after I get my recliner or before I brush my teeth, you pick one time and you practice for 2 minutes. And that's it. And do that every day, and it helps you become more consistent. So it's just changing one little thing, adding it to something that you're already doing to make it work.
By the way, Andrea.
And I'm stuck with it.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes to everything that you're saying. And the thing that I loved about Atomic Habits was it wasn't overwhelming, or it didn't make you feel guilty for missing a day. It wasn't about you have to do this and never ever falter from this plan. It's making small decisions throughout the day to be healthier or to learn something. And sometimes it is just that couple of minutes that and making little decisions. It's not about consistency is important, but you don't have to beat yourself up or feel guilty or feel like you have to give up and start all over if you miss a day. And for me, that was the thing that really stuck. For me, it was more a personal fitness thing that I was getting from the Atomic Habits. Making a choice for this meal or deciding to work out this day. And you might not be working out 6 days a week, but if you worked out 3 or 4 days that week, that's still something. And it's better than, sitting in bed or sitting at your desk for a year.
See, Crystal, I think you'll understand this. And Andrea, can you cite or can you type without looking at the keyboard?
Yes.
Okay. I remember when I first started trying to do this, I couldn't do it. And I don't know when it happened, but just through repetition and practice, now, except for like typing on the numbers, unless if I have a number pad, I don't have to look at my keyboard except for the occasion punctuation, and not even all the punctuation. And I thought of this with your bagpipes. There's so many less combinations on your bagpipes than there is on my keyboard. So just by sticking with it, little by little, little by little. And by the way, Marlene says motivation, big picture versus atomic level, next step focus, back and forth to stay on target. Set the big goals and then take the next teeny step. And we have discussed this ad nauseum on this show. Ed, I see you.
Good martial arts instructors use those same type of principles. And notice I say good because bad ones, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Whereas good ones will use the type of principle of do this a little bit each time. I even had a martial art instructor that said, if you become great in just one technique, you are the master of that technique. Forget all the rest of them. If you just learn one, you are a master. You're a master of that technique.
So what we're discussing right now is minuscule motivation. Motivation by saying, I can do 2 push-ups. No problem. Or hell, actually Atomic Habits, if we want to keep referring to that throughout the show, it says 1 push-up. Just do 1 push-up.
1 push-up. 1 push-up.
And I'll go as far as saying 2 or 5. And if you could do that every day, and as Marlene has said, you can miss a day, but not 2. That's the key to maintaining and building a new habit. And it is. And this is something, whether you're writing a book, whether you're working on a craft project, whether you're raising your children, learning to cook, learning a new language, exercising, dieting, whatever, all this applies. And the key to motivation is what, Ed?
Doing whatever I need to do to get me through the day to have sex again. No?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's it for you, I am not saying no to that. I was just like, why can't your whole day be sex? And then, yeah, I guess that's motivation to sleep.
I gotta pay the bills, roof over my head, a bed to have sex in, all that good stuff.
Fun fact, Ed was a stripper once, by the way, speaking of being paid not for sex.
True.
What about you, Andrea? Your key to motivation?
I don't know if I have a key, but I found that what works for me right now is small things, like with my practice with the bagpipes. 2 minutes a day. And it varies from day to day, but it's after a certain thing or before a certain thing I do. Another thing, like you said, learning a language. That can be hard, especially if you're not around people and you're constantly interacting with that language. I'm learning Klingon. I don't have a bunch of Klingons around me to speak with and learn this. So my goal is every day before bed, 5 minutes practice. And I have been consistent for 101 days.
Very good. Here's what I'll say. I can sit down and put my butt in a chair and write a novel in 30 days. I can do that. And I started this by sitting in a chair for 2,000 words. And the way I came up with 2,000 words is I wrote for 1 hour. And I went, how many words do I get? Let me do this for 7 days or 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever I did. How many words are my hourly average? 1 hour. Okay, I've done it this amount of time. What's my average words every day? Okay, I can do 1,000 words per hour. So why don't I do this 2 hours a day? And this became a habit. And now it's almost a drive, a passion, a craving. Drink that water, Crystal. Now, with other things such as learning the didgeridoo, learning the blues harmonica, it's harder for me because I'm already in the habit of writing. But these other things, you okay, Crystal? You're muted. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a little bit of a side quest.
You're fine. I see the water. Definitely a great idea for anybody, anytime. And this is actually part of the reason I wrote some of the 27 Thoughts books, like 27 Thoughts on No Regrets in Life, 27 Thoughts on Enjoying Life. They're short books, very short books. One topic per page, one page per topic. And it keeps it simple, precise, and to the point. And it talks about these exact things of, the small goals, breaking down your large goals, as Marlene said in chat, into small steps. And on another episode, Marlene commented, celebrate your small successes. This is so important to recognize, I did that 2 minutes today, or that 5 minutes, or that one thing, that one push-up. And celebrate that, appreciate that accomplishment. What are you guys giggling about? What am I missing?
I like to do it for much, much more than just 5 minutes a day.
Yeah, but that's your end goal. That's the motivation to get to the end of the day for that more than 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Practice makes perfect.
I think that so many of us get overly stimulated or overwhelmed with all the different things that we want to do.
Right.
And honestly, I look at somebody like Travis who's like didgeridoo and writing, and I have a day job, and I'm writing a million bajillion books. And I'm like, shit, man, I'm way far behind, and I'll never get there, because you're looking at somebody who's been doing stuff for a while. And the thing is that keeps a lot of people from even just starting and from taking that first step. And sometimes you take the first step and then you don't do it ever again. And that's another thing. You have to just continue doing little baby steps. And people who have written 30 books like Travis has, I don't know. It's more like the books that I know of Travis's major works are the 5. I like the Portals books, and then the Silver and Smith books, and then he's got a lot of others in his repertoire. But he is consistent, and I think that that's what scares most people, is just the thought of contributing something every day. But Andrea has been practicing 2 minutes a day, and she's making progress. And that's what Atomic Habits encourages you to do, is just make a little bit of progress, keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to read a comment or two here.
I feel like I probably repeated something that you guys were already saying. I apologize.
It's okay. This kind of stuff is worth repeating, because hello, Trin. Thank you for joining. Okay.
Hi,
John says, I might get dragged for this, and just don't mention if it's not on topic. I haven't read the whole thing, so I'm going to read it anyway, especially since other people in chat are agreeing with you, John. But I think people need to find an internal reason to live. Control the controllables. When you lose all external reasons for life, and we do sometimes, those emotions and depression are the pressures that can lead to normal suicidal thoughts, to overwhelm someone. To me, the key to motivation is to have a good enough reason to not die. That is what leads me to writing. In my opinion, motivation can save your life. The internal kind of motivation. And yes, John, I'll tell you this. Andrea and I have reached a point in our life where we're reevaluating everything, and we're deciding why we get out of bed every day, why we're alive still, why we're still living, and what we're doing. And we are making it about ourselves and deciding what we want to do. We're creating our own motivation. And some days, it's hard. Other days, especially once you've made it the habit, then you just do it, and then you feel a little better about the day. And then you do the next thing, and you feel a little better. And yeah, Marlene says that's why habits, the outcome of which is rewarding, are easiest to build. Andrea, did you just raise your hand?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and Marlene says,
I will say that
I'll read this comment real quick. I'll pass it right over to you there, Crystal. Marlene says, motivation that is all external is dangerous. Yeah, go ahead, Crystal. Thank you.
it actually ties right in with that. When I was in the the depths of my depression, it was hard to get out of bed at all. And I was having to push myself to go to work, push myself to brush my teeth. Everything took extra effort because it was just trying to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just a matter of taking those teeny tiny things and not having them be for everyone else, and saying, I'm going to do this for myself because I want to be better.
And Trin just realized Crystal is Crystal. And your hair is
Thank
gorgeous.
you. Do we?
Validation.
Mm-hmm.
I love compliments.
Crystal,
I'm learning to love compliments.
I want to say this. Earlier, you commented that looking at all the things I do, it can be overwhelming. Looking at that, going, what? I can't. But Crystal, after meeting
you, got all the balls in the air.
Well, there's a reason I gravitated to you, is because I'm listening to your schedule and everything you're doing with the ghostwriting and the family. And I tell you what, family takes up a lot of time and energy. And then your podcasting, your interviews, and you're jumping on these other things. And I'm a little bit in awe of you and all the things you're doing. I'm like, all right, there are other people out there doing this, because sometimes I get so exhausted by myself. And I just want to, and by the way, there are occasions I do set it down for a week, and then I get that itch, and I'm like, I've got to go back and create something. And if I don't want to work on what I'm working on, that's when I'll pick up something new. And that's why I learned how to do that spray paint street art in one day. I went, I want to do this. Okay, watch some YouTube videos, look up some DIY stuff, go to the craft store, come home. Now we have space paintings. So feeding off of each other,
is beautiful.
Looking at each other, and not only being inspired by Crystal, but letting Crystal know you're inspiring. What you do dazzles me, amazes me. And hello, Mouse. Good to see you. Thank you for popping in.
Hello, Mouse.
Andrea?
All right. Playing on what you're saying, you look at Crystal and you're like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So that motivates you to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have a similar story. So Sula Hoops, she's a hooper.
Mm-hmm.
I met her. She's one of Travis's friends. She's now my friend. I love this woman. She does fire hooping and all kinds of really cool things. Yeah. And she does videos on Instagram. And I look at it, and she's not showing just all the perfect videos. She's showing her mistakes when she's learning and constantly getting better. That's very inspiring to me. And after watching that and thinking about learning to play bagpipes, she kind of inspired me to go ahead and learn this difficult thing. So.
Very good. And real quick here, Marlene also says, saying that because motivation is, I'm sorry, let me read a previous comment to tie it in. Marlene says, motivation or interest/curiosity. Old people losing any kind of interest in things outside them is when the end is near often. Saying that because motivation is so closely tied to achievement. Curiosity can be more meandering, without a goal necessary, but also keeps one alive. It is. Andrea and I, our curiosity is we want to travel. We don't have a goal. We just want to go places, see things, experience things. Ed is the same way when it comes to camping and hiking. That's exploring the world. And by the way, medical reasons, psychological reasons to go camping. It's scientifically proven to reset certain chemicals within your body and your whole...
Yeah, you detox.
Yeah. And it's true.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But Ed, what about you? Have you decided on
I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Ask the question.
Decided on a goal and started working towards it, and what you do to achieve that?
Yeah. See, I'm one of those people that I have no damn motivations at all, because I have no idea what I want to do next. I just know I'm not finished yet. So
Two words.
Do you feel like
Would
because like attained? Have you reached the point where it's like, this is perfect?
Not perfect. It can be a little bit better. But yeah, I've done so many things that I've wanted to do. So I know I want to do something else. And it's there, and I'll find it, and I'll do it.
See, that's the curiosity. But
That's
here's what
kind
I'll
of fucking
say.
awesome.
Wood floors. Okay, there's something.
Never fucking again.
Right. It only took a year and a half or 3. Trin says, can I put in...
But they're beautiful.
They are. They are, Andrea. Trin says, can I put my 2 cents in here? Growing up, many people in my life would tell me I'm not good enough for stuff, or I wouldn't last a week at remodeling traveling job, and it motivated me to push hard and work hard, and now I'm my 2nd year of remodeling jobs. Does that count as motivation? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's whatever you
Yeah, it does.
Whatever you decide to use to better yourself for yourself. Now, if you're doing this so you can stand there and hold it up in front of them going, do you like me better now? Maybe you need to look at doing it for you and don't worry about what the fuck they think. Because I tell you what, Trin, we know you and we appreciate you for you. And we're going to encourage you in whatever you decide to do and call you out if you need to be called out.
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Yeah, that support group, that's a good thing when it comes to motivation. That support group, the positive support group. So shall I read more comments?
Man, I remember...
Go ahead, Crystal.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go, cool.
I remember when I was 18 and, that was a rough point for me. I had to choose between keeping the person who I considered my soulmate, who I'm still with to this day, by the way. I had to choose between my best friend and staying in the religion I was in. And this was the religion I was born into. I had been raised 18 years to believe that this was my family, and I had to choose between staying with that or completely losing everything that I had previously thought was my life. And somebody said, you won't last 2 weeks. Your relationship's going to be over in 2 weeks, and you're going to come crawling back to your mom. And that was the first time in my life. I've never been a stubborn person, but that was when I first got this feeling of defiance. And I was like, oh, I'm going to dig my heels in. I'm going to prove you so wrong. And granted, I wasn't so determined to rub it in his face. I really didn't care if I ever saw him again, but I was like, oh, you are so wrong. And 17 years later, I'm still married, and you're divorced, and your kids don't talk to you. And I will not lie, I'm a little bit petty about it.
Motivation.
Granted, I never wanted to rub it in his face or go to him and be like, look how your life has gone wrong and I'm happy. But at the same time, I do feel, a little bit petty about that. And
John says, you showed them it's been over 6 weeks. Good job. John also added something very valuable and less comedic here. John says, my goal is to write my first book by the end of the year. I got a decent outline, and as of today, about the first 5,000 words. So good job to that. I will raise a
John's
glass to that.
actually a fucking beast.
So,
I've seen John write. We worked together on a screenplay, and I've seen this man rip out 7,000 or 8,000 words in a day, and like it was nothing. And he's like, I don't know, but he's amazing at storytelling and sitting down, doing the ass in the chair and words, hands on the keyboard kind of a thing. So you absolutely have what it takes to write a book by the end of the year.
and we'll support you here in the tavern for that a whole year long. And Marlene says, there are the people who die happy. Those are able to reflect on their accomplishment and see them as such. And Marlene adds in reply to John, that's great. We should all share our goals, maybe. Absolutely. Put your goals in chat. I'll tell you mine. I want to learn didgeridoo and blues harmonica by the end of the year, to where I can maybe even put a few songs together that's worth watching on a stream. What about you, Crystal? What's your goal?
My goal is to publish a book under my own name that I actually get to take credit for and say, I put this out in the world, and have people review it and say, this made a difference in my life, or this touched me because I've had this experience and it resonated with me and made me feel good. And that's my motivation.
Andrea?
Learn a song on my bagpipes and be able to play it.
And
Just one.
And it's great because she's learning Three Blind Mice or Hot Cross Buns, kind of same song, I believe. And she has come to me going, I'm getting this. You need to learn on a harmonica so we can play it together. And I'm like, yeah, this is a good goal. It doesn't sound like much, because this is like one of the first songs every 6-year-old learns in their first music class. But it's worth it because it makes you feel good.
I never have.
Right. And then you go from there and you take the next step and next step. Now, Ed, you just said you don't really have any, but I'm going to ask you also just to keep you in the conversation here. Goals?
Oh, by the end of the year, camp more, man. I've had to cancel 3 trips this year, and that fucking sucks. But yeah, camp more by the end of the year. But a similar story to Crystal's and John's. I like I think it was John. Spite is a motivator. May have been someone else. I'd have to scroll back up here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can figure out how to do that. No, it was Marlene. Spite is a motivator, and John said seeing karma as a motivation. Similar thing happened to me at 18 years old. My father and I didn't have a very good relationship. I always felt like a failure in his eyes. 3 a.m. the morning I'm getting ready to ship off to boot camp in the Marine Corps, he walks up to me and is like, if you can't make it, you can come home. Now, some people would have thought, hey, your dad is being kind to you and saying, you can't make it, you can't come home. It's like, no, that motherfucker thinks I'm not going to make it. I'm going to show him.
Trin says, my goal is to
And you made it.
Oh, go ahead, Crystal.
I made it.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely. And still making it. And by the way, something for everybody out there, totally pulling Ed's skeletons out of the closet-ish, but there's no door on this closet, so it doesn't matter.
No, it's not.
Ed, I've known Ed for well over 20 years at this point, and I've heard these stories about his father throughout his whole adult life. Well, not his whole, but a lot of his adult life. But now, his father passed a couple of years ago. Ed speaks his father's wisdom now. And I've pointed at that
absolutely.
going, that's kind of great that you had this conflict the whole time, but you take these pearls of wisdom, these nuggets, and go, look at this one. Look at this one. And there's a value there that Ed found in a very difficult situation throughout his whole life. And that's a beautiful thing. It's Trin says, by the way, let me read some other people's goals here. Trin says, my goal is to save up enough money to buy a new car by the end of the year. That's awesome. Marlene says, I got to publish my second scientific manuscript, settle into the non-academic work life, and make friends with my new mom self. Making friends with yourself. How important is that shit?
Mm-hmm.
Appreciating yourself, supporting yourself, realizing your worth.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to have the down moments and the up moments and appreciate both, because you realize you have these because these goals that you've set, even invisible goals, like, I don't know, cooking dinner for the family is kind of an invisible goal, but it's a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it
Big
every day.
deal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it definitely adds value and self-worth. It's the tricky part of parenting, in my opinion, is once they get up and move out of the house, reevaluating your whole life to make it about you instead of chasing your kids, hoping to still not have to give up that previous identity, to allow yourself to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is true also, Marlene. Marlene says, yeah, body image took a hit after maternity. The extra chub and sag in other parts. It's hard. I got that too after my son was born. No, maybe I had it before he was born.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, that's a part of the beauty of motherhood. I mean,
Is it weird that I would look at someone's stretch marks, especially if they just have stretch marks on their thighs or their abdomen, and I'm just like, God, it's gorgeous to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is. It's a part of being a mother. It's
Like, have you ever heard
awesome.
that
It's
term,
beautiful.
big scars?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like the sexy eyebrow scar. It's
Mm-hmm.
like scars that tell a story, scars that show that you've lived a little bit of fucking life, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. Taking a bullet or having a baby, those are both pretty fucking cool.
Yep. Awesome.
Now, John says children are transient in our lives. And most people forget that. Here's what I'll say. Transient in the sense that the relationship needs to change at certain points. When they go from single-digit age into puberty, you have to change your relationship a little bit. You can't treat them the same way. When they go out into the world, even if they're living under your roof still, you have to change that relationship, the expectations, the way you handle things. You don't have as much control as these things come along. And you have to let it change and find your place in that where you can be happy. Well, 2 years in, you're definitely far from the next transition, Marlene. You've got a while. But I've enjoyed, my whole life, not just my kid, but I've enjoyed every part of my life. And I've never looked back going, I wish I could go back then. Because I like who I am now, and I like the growth I've had, and how.
I have.
What, Ed?
I have. It's funny. I was just thinking of that today. Something I can't remember what it was, but this morning, a song came on the radio, and I was like, I wish I could go back to that. Not necessarily to make any changes or anything, but relive that moment one more time. Yeah.
Well, remembering a moment wistfully or beautifully or nostalgically, that's awesome. To go, I'm unhappy with my life, I want to be in a different place in my life.
Okay.
And that's good night, Trin.
Good night, Trin.
Good night, Trin.
Crystal, did you have something to add to this? I saw you nodding and you started to say something.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not
I just kind of like
jump in, cut me off. I'm talking enough.
No, I just think sometimes you love a time in your life and it's like looking at a photograph and getting that warm fuzzy feeling. It's not that you don't appreciate who you are now or who your kid is now. Sometimes I'll tell my daughter, man, I remember when you were 4, that was just like the perfect age. You were potty trained, you knew how to communicate with me. And she's like, well, what's wrong with me now? And it's like, man, that's not what I mean. It's not that I don't like who you are now. Man, I love our conversations now. And inevitably in 10 years, I'm going to be like, remember when you were 14 and we had that long 2-hour conversation about, gay rights or whatever the case is. And it's not that you're not appreciating now, but appreciating what brought you to this point. Being able to know that makes you feel good. Those are the kinds of things I think that will flash before your eyes. Those are the significant things that you didn't know were significant at the time. And those deserve love. And it's okay to love those things and be able to treasure them and keep them like a very special photograph and not feel like, not feel guilty to have to go back and relive those once in a while. Just appreciate them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have photographs, isn't it? That's why we take that picture of that moment. Andrea? It looked like you wanted to say something. I didn't want to keep talking.
I
Go
didn't.
ahead.
Yeah, if you said something. I was gonna say it's great to remember the good times and to say that you enjoyed your life and you wouldn't change a thing. Okay. On the flip side of that, there's a lot of my life I did not enjoy. It was miserable. But looking back on it, if I changed any bit of it, I would not be where I'm at now.
Exactly. Yep.
So you got to take the good with the bad, and I'm happy where I'm at now.
And there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. I'm going to read a couple of comments here. Marlene said something very poignant. For now, I'm much more conscious of the eventual departure of my parents, which is what we were just talking about with Ed, especially after feeling time lost due to COVID separation, that's still there because borders are still closed. Hoping every week it'll change. By the way, for folks that don't know, Marlene is originally from Germany, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm guessing her parents are still there, and there is a very physical distance there. Then John says, back to the parenting thing and the children, and I like what he says here. I guess what I'm saying is, most, a lot of people don't have identities outside of being a parent, especially if they're a stay-at-home parent. Your identity outside a parent is important to maintain. It's good for motivation, and that's absolutely true. Your kids are important. They're a huge part of your life, but you have to still let yourself have your own life in addition to that part of your life.
Yes.
Crystal, did you raise your hand?
And in the beginning, it is hard. But things will calm down and you can get back to yourself.
John, enjoy the sex.
Your identity almost disappears at one point where you're like, oh my God, this is the most important thing in my life, and everything else disappears. But then they start to get older and get friends and identities and shit, and you're like, shit, do I still exist? Am I still a thing here?
John is saying good. He says the wife wants to do the sex. I gotta go. Thanks and cheers. And Marlene says, yeah, that's why I got that new job. 2 years post-birth, especially with COVID 2021. Or, I'm sorry, especially with COVID. 2021 was the year to make stuff count for myself again. That's important. I've often said you can't be good for anyone if you're not good for yourself. You have to allow yourself to be a person and be a whole person. And then, trust me, that will make it better for everybody you surround yourself with. So, yeah, being there for others is important, but being there for yourself, first and foremost, is very important. That doesn't mean arrogance. That doesn't mean cutting people out and telling them they're worth less. That means appreciating who you are. I'm probably going to relight my bite. So,
oh man,
other good ways to stay motivated. We got about 15 minutes left in the episode, so let's talk about that. Some of this. Go ahead, Ed.
Best way to stay motivated is to join us every fucking Monday night at 8. That's the best way to stay motivated.
And actually, that's a fair point. Marlene says, should be motivation enough. And if it's not, it's time for some therapy. Don't hesitate to seek help, whether that's from your inner circle support group or whether that's professional help. Don't hesitate to explore that option. But I would say, do it with the motivation of not maintaining and getting validation, as we've discussed on another thing, because a lot of people use therapy just for validation. Once a week, I get validated by my therapist. Look at that as that next step to your goal. Use that motivation to move forward for yourself and in yourself.
I will say, if your therapist, if the only function of your therapist is to validate you each week, then you should probably get a different therapist. If they're not pushing you to better yourself, then what are you paying for? Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as my methods for staying motivated, it's the idea in my head of where I see myself at the end of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not I'm happy with what I've done and everything that I've learned and who I've become. And if at any point I start to get stagnant, I start to feel like, what's the point? So, I mean, if you're happy where you're at and you feel like you've attained nirvana or happiness or whatever that means for you, then dig your heels in. But if you feel like there's something missing, then you need to figure out what that is and figure out what needs to change and
Or
move forward from that. And don't be afraid to change.
to expand on that, maybe not figure out like, oh, what's missing, what's missing, what's missing. No, but decide what you want for that open space in your world, in your head, in your life, in your personality. You decide. Like Andrea wasn't necessarily missing anything, but she went, I want to learn bagpipes. And now she's having such a great time doing that. So bagpipes weren't missing, but she went, that's what I'm going to do. So it's not necessarily like missing puzzle piece. It's
what enriches you as a person.
right.
Yeah, it's an enhancement on the you that you are.
Marlene says, figure it out before you start running, though.
Beautiful.
But Marlene, earlier you mentioned curiosity. And this is where the curiosity is very handy. Explore little things. Try a little of this. Try a little of that. Find out what makes you go, hey, I liked it. Going to do that again. For Ed, that's sex at the end of the day. Or morning sex. Or, you know.
Well, yeah,
honey.
yeah, sure, yeah. Well, a part of that for me, and I'm going to get a little mushy, is Teresa, having Teresa in my life. And it's not that Teresa validates me, but she truly completed my life. I think I've said it on the show before. She completed my life so much, and we have shared so much in the past 15 years. If I die tomorrow, I will die a happy man because I've done so much more in my life with her than I ever dreamed I ever would. So I am complete right now. Sure, I want to do a little bit more if the opportunity presents itself, but I am complete right now.
If you look up romance in the dictionary, there's a picture of Ed and Teresa right there.
Aw. The beautiful thing about
so perfect. I love it so much.
The beautiful thing about your partner is they're a partner and you work together and they let you be your own person within that relationship and outside of that relationship.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been, well, except for perhaps you, Crystal, because you know, you're still with the same guy. But we've all seen or been in relationships where somebody is like, no, you will be this way for me. And you can't be something else.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have that value in yourself for so many reasons. Andrea, any thoughts on this, the motivation thing? How you motivate yourself in good ways?
I don't know if there's a way I motivate myself. I want to do it. I see the end result and I work towards it.
Atomic Habits. Get it.
You go, girl.
Yeah. Perfect and simple. Here's what I'll say about some of the other conversation we had earlier in the show about doing it for spite, etc. Yeah, that is a motivation, but you're doing it for them. You're doing to show them they're wrong. And you're actually working for them at that point. Do it for yourself. And if you can find a way to remove them from your mental equation, even if you can't remove them from your life, do it for you and don't worry about that. And that is the hardest thing for me. I always worry about what people think. Am I hurting their feelings? You know, are they okay with this? And
yes, you do.
Yeah. And I've gone to Ed so many times as a close friend going, this person said this, is it true? And Ed, ever so wise, don't say shit. And we've done whole shows of how do you not give a fuck? And it's hard. for some people. For other people, it comes naturally. But yeah, that is a worthwhile goal to seek, is to don't worry about the other people. Marlene asks, age? Question mark. I think I'm finally at a point in my life, Marlene, where I can make it about me. Now, I could have at any point in time, and this is what I'm encouraging in others, because when people ask if you could tell yourself your younger self one thing, mine is usually two things. First of all, do that thing today, whatever that thing is. Write that book, go to that place, talk to that person, dance in public.
Make that mistake.
Right. The other thing is stop worrying about what other people think. And if you stop worrying about, you will do that thing. You'll go talk to that person you don't know. You'll go try that new hobby or go to that new place that you've never been, because you're not worried about anybody else. You're doing it for you now. And that's really hard to grasp for a lot of people, myself included. So, yeah, not giving a fuck is invaluable to self-motivation. That's not give a fuck about anything.
Absolutely.
That's not give a fuck about what other people are thinking when you're doing that thing, wearing that new outfit, putting on that new nail polish that somebody might go, oh, that color. Whatever it is. It's make your life about you and then include everybody else.
Write that book without worrying what people are going to think when they read it.
Yeah, that's why we got editors. and a half dozen edits without an editor. It's something else I'm doing this year is I built a sound booth in my office in a little teeny closet. And I'm definitely worried about, am I doing the voices right? I'm very nervous about that. And when I'm editing it, I'll get anxiety about that. And I have to remind myself, don't worry about it. Do the thing. Will it be perfect? Guaranteed no. But it will get better. Like I mentioned, typing on the keyboard without looking. It's just a matter of getting those hours in, that practice in. 2 minutes at a time. Whatever. Okay, closing thoughts. Let's wrap this up. Who's got some closing thoughts on good ways to stay motivated? And a toast, says Andrea. Andrea, closing thoughts first?
I don't have any.
She just got done with a long work day, man.
What about you, Crystal?
I'm here. That's it.
She's here for the aesthetic purposes.
Okay, let me answer Marlene's comment here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ed.
Closing thought. Just do it. Give yourself a chance and don't be too hard on yourself.
Crystal?
Little changes, little decisions will be what make the big memories 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm. And Marlene says, I feel half the sound booth was Goblin pushing you. Not at all, Marlene. Most of the stuff I had been purchasing since January, since after the holidays. I bought a monitor, bought a camera. I actually bought a microphone, but then my other microphone broke, and because I wanted a whole separate setup in there. So I've been buying these things, the pads and everything. Goblin, who, for anybody listening to podcasts, that's one of my regular people in the stream, came in and then helped me get that last few things I needed to complete it. Trust me, Andrea will back me up on this. I was champing at the bit to get this done. But life happened, bills happened, extra expenses happened, and I had to prioritize. So when Goblin came in and went, I want to see this happen, here's the ability, and he sent me the extra mic. I don't think he necessarily wanted that public. He mentioned that in chat, that's obvious. And a few other things. Yeah, as soon as I had all that stuff in my hand, I'm like, I'm doing it, because I got everything I need now. And
the next day he did it.
Right. And then 3 days later, I'm sitting in there and recording the first book in that booth. And people are amazed by that. But it's all small steps. I bought one thing. 2 weeks later, I
At the
bought
same
another.
time, though, having people in your life like Goblin to keep prodding you and needling you has to be at least encouragement.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Whether there's any kind of financial backing or not, it's, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Marlene. Marlene says it's great if someone gives you the last push, validation others believe. Great to see you record. Thank you. It was going to happen no matter what. But because of finances, it had to be put off until that happened. And then I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm doing this now. And that's
Never give up.
Never give up. Never surrender. That's right. It's okay.
Never give up. Never surrender.
Let's see. Cogsley is drunk. We're going to play the outro music again. Cogsley is going to stutter and or rap through the whole thing. You guys have a great night. Closing toast here is believe in yourself and let yourself be more than you are today. Just a little more. Just 1% more. And you get there.
Keep moving forward. Walt Disney said so.
As Dory says, just keep swimming. And let's see if Cogsley has any wise words or dumbass words. Let's see here. I'm going to ask him what he thinks. He says, it's a funny thing about life. If you refuse to accept anything but the best, you very often get it. W. Somerset Maugham. So there we go. We'll close it with that thought, and we'll see how this closing music goes. Good night, everybody. Before we go, I want to remind everyone that you can email us at talkofthetavernshow@gmail.com to let us know your thoughts on the show's topic, suggest another topic that you'd like to hear us discuss, or just have us read a message out on air to someone in your life. Thanks for supporting the show by downloading the podcast, sharing it on social media, grabbing some shirt stickers and mugs from bit.ly/tavern merch, or barware patches and hats from bit.ly/tavern merch 2. That's bit.ly/tavern merch or tavern merch and the number 2. Thanks to everyone who joined us live at twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, and everyone who supports the tavern by subscribing, hosting, throwing bits, raids, and most of all, commenting. Thanks for joining us in the discussion shenanigans tonight. You are the one thing that makes the show what it is. Don't forget to join us at the tavern next week. Until then, have fun, keep learning, and be good to one another. Now, raise your glass in good cheer. Enjoy the small moments every day and steamy dreams every night.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately. Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.